Bro, these past couple of days, weeks, months have been kicking these homophobes. But, okay, before I go any further, I want to just go ahead and take a time to talk about a story I'm working on. It's called Partitions, but I probably might change it into something else. But it's basically like the internet has just completely blacked out. The internet and every electronic device has just completely failed in America. So now people sort of like diverted back to their primal stages of hunter gatherer kind of concept. It basically, instead of people going back to the 60s, they went back to the caveman days, so to speak. So like now people are trying to survive. There's a whole bunch of differences. Like people just basically reformed the boundaries of their states and everything like that. So now you have, certain demographics of people gravitating to one another in multiple ways. So you would have like the this family over here, this family over here, this family over here, and you will have this demographic of people over here, this demographic of people over here, and this demographic of people over here. And so there's in my story, there's characters who before the internet died or whatever, they were they were homosexuals, they were LGBTQIA people who have been abandoned by their families, so they feel very kind of alone and scared until somebody decided to establish a community with them so they could sort of like have a family of their own to just sort of be a part of. And that community was called I think it was called Blush or something in my story. But like the people in that community, they're called the alters or altersexuals. So because I actually like that term that I coined, I wanted to just start calling LGBTQIA people alters. So if you ever hear me say alters, just know that it's because it's a story that I'm working on, and it's a term that just sort of, it's short for altersexuals or alternate sexual people. So I was like, I rather just call them that. So from now on, if you hear me say that, just know that that's where that's from. That took 2 minutes to explain, but I like long explanations because I want people to get the understanding, no matter how long it took. With that being said, homophobic people, transphobic people, these people have been getting their butts kicked lately. It is hilarious. First off, Tim Drake being announced as bisexual. People who didn't read comics were freaking out. And then Jonathan Kent ends up being announced as bisexual, and people start freaking out. And then Lil Nas X basically says that he's gonna do a collab with Lil Boosie, and Lil Boosie starts freaking out. It's hilarious to see what this is becoming now. Like, I'm loving to see it because of the fact that when I was a kid growing up, being anything other than heterosexual was just considered wrong. It was on the grounds of, dismissal and ridicule. People were okay with you if you mocked people who weren't heterosexual. So if, like, when I was a kid growing up, one of the common jokes that folks used to love saying was, "Man, if I find out my girlfriend has a woo woo, then I'm gonna kill it." You know what I'm saying? That was a joke back then in the South. It is crazy. That was what people found it funny. And I'm not even talking about like adults. I'm talking like kids. Like me. You know what I'm saying? It's wild. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy because that's what it boiled down to back then. And and I remember being a kid, just to sort of get people's goats. I used to always ask them, "Hey, what would you do if you just got done having sex with a girl and you found out that she had and they will always say the same thing, and that will always be funny to them. And the one thing that went through my mind is, but you had sex with the person before you found that out, so why would you freak out about it after the fact? It's just weird. So yeah, part of me was trying to like sort of like, I remember being a kid growing up, and like at one point in time it just started to make sense that it's like, unless some of these folks tell you, you probably wouldn't know. You wouldn't know if somebody was trans or gay or whatever, because I feel like that's just something that they would have to trust to actually tell you. And if they tell you, it's because they trust you. And you dishonoring somebody else's trust just to, be malicious against them is really screwed up. But back in the day, it was funny. That's kind of one of the few reasons right now where I don't like humor anymore, because of the fact that it feels like humor nowadays is basically just jokes that harm as many people as possible. And I find that just annoying at this point. One time I saw a George Carlin special, and it was about George Carlin basically talking about words. Let me explain. For example, he said, I don't remember the joke exactly, but I'm just gonna go ahead and use my own formation with it, because at some point we're not going to be saying eating food anymore. We're going to be saying mastication of nutritional substances that may or may not be flavored. We won't be saying drinking anymore. We'll be saying the libations of nutritional liquids and fluids that are maintained in our system for both nutritional value as well as a good feeling in our tummies. You see what I'm saying? Words. Shell shock is now post-traumatic stress disorder. That was one. That was actually a Carlin joke. But yeah, it feels like nowadays, a lot of humor, or a lot of things that people find funny is just basically them ridiculing, attacking, if not just completely annoying another person. And the thing is that now people are so quick to say, man, people are so sensitive nowadays. You just can't take a joke anymore. And it's like, no, what you're saying isn't funny. Once upon a time, there used to be a joke about a chicken crossing a road. And it was the funniest joke ever. Because imagine just telling a slew of jokes, a slew of puns, and then you say, okay, now I got one for you. Why did chicken cross the road? To get to the other side. Knock, knock. Who's there? It's me. Open the door. You know what I'm saying? The fact is that, it feels like humor has become a little bit more annoying now. It feels like, right now, as I said before in my last video, the bullies are now starting to realize that more people are starting to gain more empathy and gain more respect for other people, because treating people like garbage isn't funny anymore. So now people are just starting to say, hey, this ain't good. And the alters, as I call them, are starting to understand, are starting to get a chance to be starting to be seen in a respectful light. Because as long as I've been alive, there's always been some sort of random conspiracy of people saying, if I see two men kissing on television, that's gonna turn me gay. Look, my guy, let me go ahead and explain this to you in a way you understand. You cannot turn gay. There is no hidden switch in your body where somebody presses a button and all of a sudden you're like, I want to kiss a guy now. It's never going to happen. The way I see it is that, if you think that it's capable of you turning gay, like a sickness, you're going to have to explain what the symptoms are. If turning gay is basically the equivalent of this virus that you can get, you gotta start saying specifically what qualifies as it. You gotta understand that it's really confusing now, because as long as I've been alive, the only way I would know somebody is gay is unless they actually told me, and even then I probably wouldn't care, because it's you're gay, that's cool. I'm gonna go ahead and just thanks for telling me. Or you're bi, that's cool. Thanks for telling me. Or you're trans, that's cool. Thanks for telling me. It's not also the phrase, I don't care if you're gay or whatever. If you don't care, you wouldn't say it. You wouldn't say you didn't care. That's the concept of not caring. Nobody who has never not cared about something ever said they didn't care about something. Because the moment that you vocalize it, you cared enough to say it. Weird. At least I think so. But man, the LGBTQ community, the archers, as I call them, is just really starting to, they're starting to be seen as people and not as some sort of sickness or dangerous people. It's now you got no other choice but to treat them with respect. And people who are so used to not treating anybody with respect are being upset about it. It's like, you mean to tell me we gotta treat these people with respect? Look, when I was a kid growing up, there was the rapper Lil Boosie. I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'm from the city that Lil Boosie came from. And I remember before he got big, people used to play his music all the time. And I remember, like, before they even played his music, they used to say, Lil Boosie, I can't wait to see Lil Boosie, Lil Boosie. And I hated that word because initially, I got old family members. I thought Lil Boosie was just Bootsy Collins, like reinventing himself. And then all of a sudden, I find out that it's this rapper that's on helium, and I'm like, this is what Lil Boosie is. And that's like, you also have to take into consideration when you're a kid growing up. I used to hear the word that people use for a lady's underside a lot, and Lil Boosie rhymes with that. And nowadays people are saying little bus, but now people are saying bussy, Bussy, and that means exactly what you might assume that it means. And like, there's nothing masculine or manly about the word boosie. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing like there's nothing tough or bad about it. That's like the fact that, like, this dude managed to actually, like, go as long as he did and go as far as he did as a gangster with a name like that is just nothing short of spectacular to me. That's like, imagine calling yourself like imagine, being a diehard gangster and calling yourself Mary Had a Little Lamb. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you're a diehard gangster. You're tough. You're bad. But that's just that's just a name you call yourself. Mary Had a Little Lamb. You know what I mean? And I imagine for years people have been telling you, yeah, that's gangster. That's really gangster. But it makes you sound like a white girl who has a little lamb. I think the thing that really kind of annoys me the most about the Lil Boosie situation is the fact that, like, we're from the same city. Lil Boosie makes more money than I would ever in my entire life. He sees the stuff that goes on in our hometown. And there's a lot that's going on in our hometown right now. But he would rather take this time to get really mad at Lil Nas X just for acknowledging him after months of technically not doing so, I assume. Like, the way I see it is, like, homie got his priorities kind of messed up because, and Boosie fans are gonna be like, yo, man, I mean, why he gonna give money to a city that don't like him? Because you're from that city. I mean, y'all need help. Baton Rouge needs help. Get this dude to help you out. This dude got the money. Shoot, you got, like, all this stuff that's going on in Baton Rouge right now, all this stuff that's, like, going on in Louisiana right now, and a dude who apparently is a core figure of a really ridiculously high earning individual is basically looking at this stuff that's happening and just going, that ain't my problem. That sort of thing made me just completely not care about the rap industry anymore. Because it's like, like, to put it in perspective, Jay-Z is doing all this stuff for New York, and I think Beyonce is doing all this stuff for Houston, and a lot of rappers tend to give back in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Meanwhile, Lil Boosie, where he at? What he doing? Lil Wayne, where he at? What he doing? Kevin Gates, where he at? What he doing? The only person who I actually see who even gives a slight of a heck about Baton Rouge is Lil Webby. But, and if y'all are the type of people to say some stuff like, yo, man, he moves in silence, though. You know what I'm saying? You probably might not even know what he's doing, but he probably might be doing it. And it's like going, well, this is definitely the time to flex then. Because all I'm hearing about from Lil Boosie is that he's mad that Lil Nas X exists. It's like if there was any better time to be hearing about Lil Boosie doing something for his community, this would probably be it. But yeah, homophobes. I'm loving how now people are starting to realize that homophobia is stupid. Because it's like, if I don't care about straight people's love lives, why would I care about the gay ones? Or the bisexual ones? Or the trans ones? Or the intersex ones? Or the alters? Y'all dumb. Love and peace. I have a good one. Be safe out there.